Blasey Ford says she believed Brett Kavanaugh was going to rape her. That is from her written testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday. In it, she provides an account of the night in high school when she says Kavanaugh and one of his friends sexually assaulted her at a house party in Maryland. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats are urging President Trump to withdraw Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. But Senate Judiciary Republicans intend to go forward with Thursday's hearing. CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes has more.
I'm not in a good mood.
Utah's Orrin Hatch wasn't the only one, as Republicans reeled from the latest allegation about Kavanaugh being present at a gang rape.
Anything coming out of the Avenatti lane 2 days before a vote, I treat very suspiciously.
Democrats called on Kavanaugh to withdraw.
There is no way, absolutely no way, that this nomination can proceed to a vote without an FBI investigation.
Our lawyers are on it right now, our staff investigators.
Republican Chuck Grassley, the Judiciary Chair, said he's taking the new claims seriously. But
we have had accusation after accusation and accusation. Very few of them are, if any, corroborated.
The 21 senators on his committee will get 5 minutes each tomorrow to question Professor Christine Blasey Ford and another 5 for Kavanaugh. Republicans plan to cede most of their time to Arizona prosecutor and sex crimes expert Rachel Mitchell, who they have hired just for this hearing.
I'm not interested in seeing Ms. Mitchell go Catwoman on anybody. She has an extraordinary reputation for being able to ferret out the truth in allegations of sexual assault.
Ford's lawyers released photos today of her undergoing a polygraph test in August. A former FBI agent found her responses about the alleged high school groping incident were not indicative of deception.
Yes, people might have had too many beers on occasion.
In his prepared testimony, Kavanaugh was more frank about alcohol than he was on Fox News, admitting, "I drank beer with my friends, usually on weekends. Sometimes I had too many. But I never did anything remotely resembling what Dr. Ford describes."
There's plenty of reason for some people to think that this is a smear campaign.
But doesn't that imply that the women are lying?
Well, it doesn't hold them in high esteem, I'll put it that way.
Ford's attorneys have released her extensive written testimony, and she's expected to say in the hearing on Thursday, quote, "I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from screaming. This was what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life." Elaine?
Nancy Cordes, thank you. For full legal analysis, I'm joined by Joseph Moreno. He is a former federal prosecutor, and he joins me now from Washington. All right, so, Joseph, Democrats complain that Thursday's hearing is limited to testimony from only 2 witnesses, Dr. Ford and Brett Kavanaugh. From a legal perspective, how important is it to hear from other witnesses in a matter like this?
Hey, Elaine. Well, so first off, it's always important to get as much information as possible and to do it in as objectively a manner as possible. So it makes perfect sense to start the hearing with the accuser, right? So we want to hear from Dr. Ford. Lay it out at your own pace, in your own words. Let's hear everything you are comfortable sharing. Then, please tell us who else could possibly corroborate these charges. Then it makes sense to consider hearing from those people. So I think it's premature to say one way or the other if we should hear from others, but it's absolutely a possibility. So coming out of tomorrow's hearing, we should be much more informed about who we potentially should hear from. Then it makes a lot of sense to really consider hearing directly from those individuals to get it directly from them.
So, but right now, you're saying it's too early to make a determination on whether other witnesses should be called?
I would say it's too early to make a sharp determination because, frankly, we're going into this. Look, we know a lot about what's been in the media, what we've heard from lawyers, what we've heard from Judge Kavanaugh on Fox News. So we're getting this information sort of secondhand because it's coming through the media. The senators at tomorrow's hearing should almost go into this as if they're hearing it for the first time. Dr. Ford, please share with us what you're willing to share. Judge Kavanaugh, subsequently, sir, share with us what you're willing to share. Then come out of that hearing, okay, what have we learned about other witnesses? Would they add value? Then absolutely it might make sense to call those witnesses. So I'm just saying it's premature now, but it certainly should be strongly considered to call in other people before any decisions are made one way or the other about how this thing should shake out.
Well, Democrats and outside groups have called for an FBI investigation into the allegations. Those would be two radically different things. How would an FBI investigation differ from a hearing, the hearing that's set to happen on Thursday?
So in a perfect world, we would have had an FBI investigation. This would have happened months ago. Now, the purpose of an FBI background check, such as one that would apply to a Supreme Court nominee, would not be to solve a crime. It's to collect information. And then that information would ideally be available to the senators when they then question the witnesses and eventually make a decision on the merits. Now, the fact that that hasn't happened has definitely been a sore spot for a lot of folks, and there's no reason it couldn't still happen. The fact is now, though, we're sort of further in time, and we're at the point where the senators are just saying, let's hear this directly. So rather than go through the process of having FBI agents collect information just to hand it to the senators, they're saying, let's hear it directly from the sources. Now, on the flip side, there is some value that could come from an FBI agent, where trained agents could speak to these individuals and get the information from them directly. Obviously, Republicans are feeling like it's late in the process. If this would have been done months ago, that would have made sense. But clearly, politics are coming above process, and we're moving along fast without that FBI investigation.
Well, this is by no means a criminal trial, but senators who ultimately vote on Kavanaugh's confirmation will have to decide on some standard of proof in deciding whether or not to believe the allegations. Should the traditional beyond a reasonable doubt be applied in this case, or should another standard be used?
Right. I mean, good point, Elaine. So we're taking what appears to be the sort of judicial type hearing, but it's not. It's not a trial. It's not we're not in a court of law. We're at a hearing where these senators are acting as both questioners in some cases and judge and jury. So they're going to have to decide individually, what standard are we going to apply to an accusation like this when we make our decision about whether to vote for Judge Kavanaugh? Is it going to be the criminal standard of beyond a reasonable doubt? Will it be the civil standard of preponderance of the evidence, which means basically 51-49, more likely than not? Or is it, I'm going to make my own subjective determination, and some people might even go far as to say, you know what, there are so many other qualified candidates out there, maybe we should just go look for someone that doesn't have allegations like this at all, and not really have a standard other than to say any kind of indication of wrongdoing should make someone disqualified. I'm not advocating for any one of those positions, but each individual senator, both on the Judiciary Committee and then ultimately in the full Senate, if it gets that far, will have to make that personal determination.
Well, Joseph, Ford's legal team released a photo of her taking a polygraph test. Legally, how much weight do those tests actually carry?
Not a lot. So it could carry a lot in the terms of public opinion, because people have this idea that polygraphs are this way of detecting lies. They're not lie detectors. They're indicators of whether a person is being fully forthcoming and believes in what they're saying. So, but they're far from perfect. They do not have a lot of evidentiary credibility. It's more in terms of what does the public perceive as to the truthfulness of this person. So from a legal standard, not a lot of weight. From a public perspective, though, it could have a significant amount of weight as to how Dr. Ford's allegations are treated, especially since they are old and they're largely uncorroborated. So this is something that she can say, you know, look, there were reasons why it took me a long time. It makes perfect sense in some instances why that would happen. But a polygraph is a piece of information that should be considered along with the weight of all the other evidence that is being presented.
All right, Joseph Moreno. Joseph, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Elaine. Good to be here.